The only legend in my life is God, and to him belongs all the glory. Because I remind young people anytime I speak to them that human beings are not designed for glory. Glory belongs to God. Every human being is an instrument of Allah, and we're on earth for a very finite time to do his work. So whatever you do in life, it's not for you, it's for him as well. But I'm grateful to be here for a lot of different reasons. And he's right. I'm very careful in where I speak, but I'm more careful to who I speak to. And oftentimes, if it's a room of young people, I feel like speaking is an obligation that I have. If it's a room of people of my age bracket, I'm even more cautious of what I say because we are living the same experience. And I don't think I have something that they could use now because who they are is already set. And when I'm speaking to people older than me, oftentimes I'd rather be in the position of listening because their time on earth is limited. And all those people are libraries that we need to collect as much wisdom from, learn from what they did well, but also acknowledge that the tools that they had were all they had, and what they designed may not be perfect for us now. I want to ask you guys a simple question. How many of you guys in the past 6 months have sat alone and asked yourself a simple question about Gambia? Is this country worth trying for? Is Gambia worth trying for? And in that moment of darkness or silence, do thoughts like, is this country designed to help me be the best version I could be? Do I have the tools available to help me thrive? Most people in that moment, what you feel is not weakness, it's data. Because an honest assessment of any young person right now is managing two realities. Knowing that the Gambia that we have right now may not be ideal, but knowing that what it needs to be is hard to do. It's going to actually require work. So anytime I see a topic, I see youth leadership in action, driving innovation, responsibility, and national development. I think that order is not correct. Before innovation, responsibility comes first. You cannot innovate on the outside without renovating the inside. Young people in the Gambia should not even start having an innovation conversation yet. We should start talking to you guys about how do you renovate your mind to reprogram it? How do you unlearn the skills that we gave you, knowing that it's not relevant anymore in a 2026 world that we live in? It starts with reflecting internally. Am I leading myself? Am I governing myself the right way before I have something to say about government or leadership? Governing yourself is being here early. Governing yourself is knowing where you're adequate and spending more time and resources, improving yourself and not asking for improvement. Because oftentimes I find a challenge, and now they call me uncle because I'm in that in-between generation. My parents are alive and some of them are still active, but also most of the younger children, some of whom I could be their father, are also becoming. We are the in-between generation, and I think it's very interesting when we talk about leadership because I see it as three dynamics. We are the generation that need to build the future. I consider you guys as the generation that need to build inside of you. And I consider the older generation who are probably bestowed with areas, positions of influence and leadership, they are building the now. They cannot prioritize issues of 2050 when they are 5 years away from retirement, have kids to feed, have families, have responsibility on top of them. It's an unrealistic expectation. So when we talk about the issue of innovation from a Gambian context, it's for young people to realize that we have to unlearn what we define as innovation. We have to start vibrating at a high frequency. And what I mean vibrating as a high frequency, as in not only being bold in what we do, but knowing that Africa now is this oyster shell that is the future of the world. Gambians need to be vibrating at a high frequency, as in we should be as aggressive and committed to developing ourselves so that we could compete globally. Because there's certain things about innovation I want to speak about. I told you guys, renovate your inside before you innovate on the outside. Because if you fail or skip that step, the moment you start innovating on the outside, Gambia will eat you up and swallow you out alive. Because nit dumuna neka serin lumneku taliben. Apprenticeship comes before entrepreneurship. We should not tell you guys go and lead until you are ready that I have led myself enough to have the confidence and the experience to be of service to other people. Because if you look at the context in Gambia, we're a small market. Gambia is 2.5 million people. There's neighborhoods in Nigeria that have more people than Gambia, right? Whatever you try to build, there's two things that happens. You get impact fast because one solution could serve the entire Gambia and everybody knows you, right? But also, after you reach 2.5 million people, then what? You're stuck. So meaning Gambia is a place where you do things really, really well, but realize that you have to look beyond Gambia, look beyond Africa. But it needs to be excellent in Gambia that you export to other countries because that is possible. Now we are living it in the day and age where we're seeing it. People like Uncle Tough, right? People like QCell is in another country, right? AfriCell is in another country. There's services. Gambia is not even the big players that are starting local, but thinking global. But building not local great excellence, global excellence that is rooted in Gambia that you export outside of Gambia. Because all of you guys don't look Gambian. There's no such thing as what a Gambian looks like. You could look Sierra Leonean, you could look Ghanaian, you could look from Senegal, meaning every place on this continent is your oyster, but we need to start with how do we develop Gambia, right? Innovation is not rewarded in this ecosystem yet. It's just not. Because they say invention, necessity, something that we need is the mother of invention. Innovation is just the application of that new solution. Because in life, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Meaning your generation now have a golden opportunity because how old are you? You're 23. I am 40, right? You have more time than I do. If I am an obstacle in the way, the only thing you need to realize is you have what? Inshallah, you have time. That comes and calls for sabr, patience, a muscle that your generation maybe does not practice enough because instant gratification. Everything is tela musoti. All of your brains are hooked on dopamine where it's difficult for you to read 5 pages on a book without being distracted. Because your brain is wired in a 30-second TikTok reel and Instagram, and it's damaging your ability to focus. How could somebody who cannot focus for 10 minutes focus on a 10-year plan that you commit to every single day? And you're struggling with 10 minutes. Where even our prayers now, our mind is on Instagram. Our mind is on TikTok. And if you are coming to hear about how great my story is, it is not. My story is very predictable. Alhamdulillah, I was born to privilege. When I left and go to the USA, I never thought about whether or not I'll have access to higher education. I knew that from the moment I was young. My parents don't depend on me for their livelihood. So it is easy for me to leave my career in the USA and come home and live with my parents. Most Gambians' reality is not that same. So for me, sacrificing for Gambia is an obligation because I understand the privilege where I come from. Your children, inshallah, will have that privilege. If you do the right things, they need to know that serving Gambia is their obligation. But also, I've been dealing with an idea and a project for the past 11 years of my life. Innovarex has been around for 11 years, as in I have focused on one dream that I had on a piece of paper in 2013 when the idea came. And I have dedicated the past 13 years of my life to one solution that is still not perfect yet. What is going to be that one thing that God puts you with all the tools that you have that you will focus on for 10 years, knowing it's not for you, it's for somebody else? What is that one thing? If you don't find that, don't start innovating, because it's going to get difficult and you're going to stop. Duloko jarab, right? But young people of today, my task is really simple for you guys. You have to understand that national development, the country does not owe us nothing. If we fail, our children will not have a country. The same way people that are struggling to keep this country alive understand that if they don't do what's right, you don't have a future. Goes back to the 3 phases. Work on your inside. We work on the future. Some people work on the now. And the natural transition will happen. Your biggest asset is time. Don't waste it. I wish I was 23 again. But for us medical professionals, I was in school till I was 28 years old. Right? You have time on your hands. Anything that is not perfect right now will change. Because even people who are not motivated to make a change are not going to last. You are going to outlast them. So be patient, keep building. Number 2, digital fluency. Amara is in New York. Somebody else is calling from another part of Africa. There's never been a time in human history where the world has been accessible than now. I envy your generation. If our parents, some of them, had artificial intelligence, WhatsApp, YouTube, oh my goodness. We take it for granted. Think about your mom, your grandmother, who they don't have conventional schooling, but they're the smartest people we'll know. Imagine your mom at 23 with ChatGPT. Just imagine that. Your generation, you take for granted what's at hand, which is why you don't need jobs anymore the way that we envision it. You don't need education the way that I had to go 28 years just to get a piece of paper. And now everything I have learned, I could get from a computer in 2 minutes. It's the application of that you shift towards human beings, because your responsibility is man or woman loses themselves when they find themselves in the service of other people. They have to find themselves when they lose themselves in the service of other people. If a young person wakes up every single day in Gambia thinking about how am I governing myself, how am I leading myself, how am I improving myself when nobody is watching, that's check number 1. How am I acquiring skills that could solve a problem for a lot of people? That's check number 2. You do those things, whatever society, country that you live in is going to develop, because people don't start waiting for development to happen. Development, you use this to develop hands, right? This controls your hands. You don't develop with your mouth. So as a young person in this day and age, one thing I'm going to leave you with as well, control what you say in this day and age. Everything you speak is history. Everything you write in this modern day of technology is history. So before you speak, before you write anything, know that you are writing your history. and the world could be very unforgiving in terms of what you say. My children 50 years from now could see this, and there's nothing I could do to change it. But know that the task at hand is huge. Don't romanticize innovation. It's hard, but it's required. But if I could bet on any generation of Africa or Gambians, it will be you guys, because you have time, you have the tools, you just need to acquire patience and know that you are now not building yourself for yourself. You're building yourself for the generation that will ask you, what did you do? We will get tired. At some point, I would not be able to build anymore. I'll have to hand the baton over to you guys. So in that dark moment where you were asking yourself, is Gambia worth building for? Whenever you have another moment, ask yourself, what role am I going to play in the Gambia that I'm going to hand over to my children, because they will ask. So don't give hope. People like us will not give you all the answers because we are not an expert. But I just know if you trust in yourself and you start vibrating at a high frequency, there's somebody above who has everything under control anyways. So it's an honor to be here. Unfortunately, I may not be able to stay as long as was required, but you guys should understand that as well too. Time is a very valuable resource. But I'm inspired by this initiative. People will support it, but support yourself as well too in terms of how you commit to what this can be. Yeah, I mean, thank you. First of all, I mean, the title means more to my dad and my mom than it means to me, because I don't believe in titles put people in a box. Be it a doctor, a pharmacist, a lawyer, the moment you get married to that title, you're limiting your human potential. But I know what it meant to my father, who was born in Bansang. His dad came from Fonyi Buyam. His mom came from Georgetown. To have a child, the first child that he had that had the word doctor in his name, meant more to him than me. For me, it's predictable. I was a science student, a really good science student at Gambia High School. I was gonna do something in the sciences. I decided to pursue a chemistry degree. Chemistry degree led to a pharmacy degree. I graduated in 2013 with a doctor of pharmacy degree. It's very predictable. What I do now has very little to do with the title of doctor, right? Because once you evolve to start solving problems, which is what every human being is supposed to do, the title means less. If anything else, I think society affords me a level of respect because of my title, because I'm not worthy of it unless you see the actions which I do. So don't be married to titles and don't idolize people that have titles. But I would not lie, when I graduated, it was on Mother's Day in 2013. I saw the pride and the happiness in my mom, and I knew that was a gift that money could never buy. So I don't diminish the accolade, what it meant for my parents, who sacrificed so much for me to be here, but it means so little to me now because I really just see myself as an African who's trying to participate in solving our problems while I can. But there's so much more to me than just a doctor's title. I want to be known more as a good father, a good husband, a good son, a good servant of Allah, more than I would be a doctor. So it's balancing those dualities, because a lot of you guys will have a title, right? And at some point, even if you're a minister, president, MP, at some point you will go back to being Samba, Pate. And then who are you in those moments when nobody knows you? So protect your identity, but root it in how you are of service to people and not the title. So that's why oftentimes I introduce myself just as Ismaila. Not even my last name, because the last name also, Santarabde Nobanit, right? Last name is a distraction, because in Gambia, the moment you say Ismaila Baji, people think first, oh, Jola, X, Y, and Z, because we are so connected to people's last name. It's not because I'm not proud of it, but it diminishes the man that I am when I speak to, Alpha. That's how I see this title thing. My dad calls me nothing but Dr. Baji. Dumade oye Ismaila sa. Right? But for me, it's very little because I know there's so many chapters of my life that would not involve the title doctor. And that's what I'm looking forward to. No, thank you. So I did not start school in Gambia. My family actually moved back to Gambia when I was 7. So when I moved back to Gambia, I could not speak a local language. We were in New York at the time. I moved back home. I enrolled in Mrs. Naus. That's when I came. And then I did Mrs. Naus, then went to the junior school, and then grade 9, took the exams, and went to Gambia High School. So I only schooled in Gambia for 10 years, from 7 to 17. The Gambian school system has a way of reinforcing beliefs. If they think you're smart, they'll keep telling you you're smart for 10 years of your life. It reprograms your brain. I don't like that about the Gambian school system because I was not somebody who I would call a good student who studied every single day. Learning came relatively easy, not because of effort. And because I was stuck in a science class, I was limited. What if I wanted to be a lawyer? What if I wanted to be a finance professional? I did not even know about financial literacy because I didn't take any accounting in high school, right? So my path is funny, which is why you have to believe that God determines what you do in life. I left Gambia to go study civil engineering. If you look at my I-20, it will say civil engineering major. That's what I got accepted into university for. 2 weeks later, I changed my major to chemistry. I still don't know why I do it. I could sit back and say, you know, I've always had a dream of being a doctor. That's not the case. Nobody in my family member before me was a healthcare professional. I don't have a dad role model who was in the medical profession. I really just trusted what I'm curious about and applied my strengths where it is, which is why I'm very unorthodox when it comes to a medical professional. I've been public speaking since I was 7 years old. Speaking in public. Anybody who knew me in school knew me to be head boy, knew me to be doing extracurricular activities. I was a youth advocate for Bafro. We were doing theaters on TV. I was going up country, educating people on STDs, handing out condoms when I was 16, 15. So I've been doing this for over 3 decades of my life because my dad was a diplomat. So he started training me to speak in public since I was 7 years old, right? So it goes to show that we don't have control over what happens in your life. That's why for you guys as young people, you have to believe that God knows what you're going to do. You just need to trust him and put in the effort because even in the Quran, he tells you need to tie your camel. He tells you with difficulty comes ease. He tells you that, yes, burden will be removed, but when it's done, you have to get up and work. So there's a level of faith and your outcomes in life that you have to just agree with. But my educational journey just landed me where now with Innovarex, once again, for 10 years, I've been building something that is not successful. Innovarex has not been profitable. I've lost more money personally in Innovarex than Innovarex has brought to me, right? But it goes back to that commitment because if you sign a contract with yourself, one, God will never leave you, right? But you may never earn what you're looking for because anything low duga, your life's work is for other people. And that's the biggest lesson on entrepreneurship that I tell people. Don't build for yourself. There are easier ways to make money than trying to build something. But if you believe in it the same way I believed in Innovarex, because my grandmother died when she was 56 years old from diabetes and hypertension. And I was working in a country where nobody looked like me, taking care of people that were 80, 90 years old with diabetes and hypertension. So every day I am driving 2 hours back and forth. I am asking one question. How is she able to live to be 80, but my grandmother died at 56? That is the Innovarex story. I cannot build it in a white man's land. I came home and said, I may not be able to help my grandmother because Allah took her at that time, But I guarantee you, if Innovarex is successful and God helps me, there's a lot of Gambian grandmothers who will celebrate 80 years old. There's no other way around it. So when things get hard, I literally open up and look at the picture of my grandmother. Because anybody who knew her, Ajafati Menga from Banjul, who I am will not surprise you. That's where the why comes into a play. Every human being has a why. The why is what keeps you going through those lonely nights. The why is an experience God put in your life to give you something to lean on when times are hard. That is the Innovarex story. Excellent question. I'll tell you guys a secret. Gambia is more advanced at 65 than America was at 65. That's one of the first things to realize. There's nothing extraordinary about Western countries. They've been around for over 250 years. Gambia is a 65-year-old experiment, and we are ahead of schedule. I know it may not seem that way, right? But when America was celebrating 65, people were on donkey carts. Civilization was not where it is. So the rate at which Gambia is growing is actually faster than what our daily reality is. And that's the first thing we need to accept and harness, because Gambia can transform faster than most nations, because what is our population? Right? Almost 70% of our population are younger than me. 70. I am old when it comes to Gambia, and I'm only 40, right? So it's that mindset shift, one, to realize that Gambia is early and we are impatient, right? The whole of the world knows that Africa is the future. That's why they are coming to Africa. We are the last great frontier, and Gambia is going to have a say. And Gambia is developing at a rapid rate. It's just difficult sometimes because our day-to-day experience could be difficult. So that's step number one, is realizing that mindset shift. You guys could travel every single day through your phones. See what's happening. See what 23-year-old Africans are doing in Nigeria, Ghana, Rwanda. See what development has happened. Reach out to them. Connect to them on social media. Most people, when they were younger, you had to have a ticket to travel to go and see something, right? Now something spectacular happens within seconds. You have traveled. So travel and start shaping. Okay, if they're doing it that way, I could do it here faster and cheaper, which is a Gambian experience most of the times, right? So which is why I need you guys to renovate the way you think. Do not let the experience of older Gambians dilute your reality for a better future. Because if you listen to the sentiment of the older generation, they have a frame of reference that you cannot relate to. Their Gambian experience is different, and it's real. Protect your space. Protect your energy. Do not let even my generation influence you to let you know what is possible in a Gambia that is going to be for you and not for me. Whatever sector you choose, know that Gambia is early and Gambia is improving. We are the envy of a lot of African countries because one thing Gambia has that most people don't have is peace. And the day peace leaves in a country, you cannot build, right? So you got to trust the process. You got to know that Gambia is early. And whatever you think is big out there, know that they have a 200-year head start and we're actually on time. But it's going to be in your hands, and you may not be around to see it. Whatever you're doing, think about smart dorming, right? That's what I would say.